Nationwide protests continue in France 1 week after President Macron overruled lawmakers to pass his pension reform bill. Paris saw hundreds of thousands of protesters on the streets and violent clashes with police. The latest wave of protests represents the most serious challenge to the president's authority since the Yellow Vest movement 4 years ago. NTD's France correspondent David Vives has the story.
The number and scale of protests in France over the pension reform isn't decreasing. On the contrary, Thursday saw around 300 rallies across France. Unions say 800,000 protesters showed up in Paris alone. Some demonstrations have been marked by violent clashes with police. In Paris, footage posted on social media show policemen attacking protesters with batons. In another video, a policeman appears to have fainted. Police said it has started investigations into alleged violence committed by officers. Protesters are angered by Macron's decision to push the pension changes through parliament without a vote. The president broke weeks of silence on Wednesday to say he would stand firm and the law would come into force by the end of the year. He compared some of the protests to the January 6th breach of the US Capitol. Rather than easing tensions, Macron's words seem to have only drawn more opposition to him.
I came here because I oppose this reform, and I really oppose the fact that democracy no longer means anything. The Article 49.3 that Macron used. We're not being represented, and so we're fed up. They should not underestimate the importance of citizen movements. They should know that 3% of the population are mobilizing for a revolution, so at any point a citizen movement could change things. Of course we should not give up. It's now, more than ever, that everything is at stake.
Some political groups have found new initiatives to oppose Macron. One small party called on French MPs to trigger a special decree of the constitution to dismiss the president. More than 8 out of 10 French said they are angry with the government's economic and social policies.
I think it can change if we can last longer and if the protests can stay at least 1 month, and we have to block the country in a strong way that the government cannot ignore the people's will.
Protesters also blockaded Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, as well as several train stations across France. Industrial action at refineries has been affecting fuel deliveries. In Normandy, authorities ordered staff to get back to work, but this has been challenged.
There were clashes between the police and the workers. We know that today the government doesn't want to see the country burn. We do not accept, and the workers do not accept, to have our right to strike infringed upon, only because the head of the prefecture feels like he needs to send fuel to Paris airport.
Unions have called for more protests. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.